The journey to the pastoral. Stay close.
If you want to talk about it, let's talk.
Welcome to the show. Let's talk about relationship.
Let me walk you through your healing.
Let's talk about that. I don't want to be nowhere where there's a move of God, but I'm not receiving.
Economic side where now women are making more money than their men that they date. So many people don't know who they are before they start doing what they do.
God is going to supernaturally visit you.
Welcome to the show. Listen, we have a fun-filled show for you today, in store for you today. In the studio is the person of my Bahamian brother from another mother, Pastor Michael Williams. Give God praise. Pastor Williams, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, so glad you stopped in. That you do have a little Bahamian slang, I want to tell you. You must move around Bahamas a lot.
I've been to Nassau quite a few times.
Quite a few times.
Yes.
So you know what conch is?
Yes.
Have you had conch
Conch
salad?
fritter, conch salad.
See, listen to me. Y'all heard that? That's Bahamian. Conch fritter, conch salad. Now, you know that the conch is raw when you eat conch salad. Did you know that?
I know that is good. That's all I know. Raw, steamed, cooked, baked,
Right,
fried.
right.
I don't know about
like
that.
It.
I
Yeah,
know
no,
it's good.
funny. I oftentimes when you tell a lot of people that the conch is raw, they panic. They're like, I'm eating raw conch. It's really good. It's one of my favorite dishes. In all-time dishes is crack conch. Gotta have crack conch when you
I've
go to
had
the
it.
Bahamas.
I've had it.
It's real good.
Yeah.
So you know about Twin Brothers? Just curious. You've ever been to Twin Brothers?
I haven't been to Twin Brothers.
I'm disappointed. I am disappointed.
Well, me
The
too.
next
If you're
time-
telling me that, I've been over there a
I'm
number of
telling
times
you,
and no one.
if you visit the Bahamas and you haven't visited Twin Brothers, I mean, you've missed something. So make sure when you go back, you tell Bishop L, as I say, to make sure he takes you to Twin Brothers.
I will tell them.
All right, awesome, awesome. Just before we start our dialogue with Pastor Williams, let's receive Sandra Pratt with a solo.
Glory, Almighty God we serve. It speaks of his character, awesome creator, Almighty God we serve. The heavens are telling and his glory. What a mighty God we serve. It speaks of his character, awesome creator, mighty God we serve. All angels, they bow before him. Heaven and earth adores him. No other God above him. He's a mighty God. What a mighty, mighty God we serve. Oh, a mighty, what a mighty God we serve. Serve. The heavens are telling of God and his glory. What a mighty God we serve. It speaks of his character, awesome creator, almighty God we serve. Oh, the angels, they bow before him. Heaven and earth adores him. No other God above him. He's a mighty God. What a mighty, mighty God we serve. Oh, what a mighty God we serve.
awesome. What a
Yes.
mighty
Yes.
God we serve. If you're in this room, just put those hands together and celebrate the mighty, the sovereign God that you and I serve. What an amazing sound. We're so appreciative, amen, of Simon Spratt dropping by our studio, amen, and just blessing and setting an atmosphere, amen, for this day. Oh, God, I feel the presence of the Lord here.
Yes.
It's dangerous
Yes.
now to go into a show right here, amen. But we have to proceed, and amen, and just walk into what God would have us to do on this set today. Once again, celebrate Pastor Michael Williams, amen, from the Sanctuary Church of Tampa. I got it right this
Yes,
time. I didn't
yes.
say the Sanctuary Church of Praise. My
We
God.
praise God there too, but we
Amen.
are the
Y'all
Sanctuary
praise
Church
in
of
church.
Tampa. Yes.
Amen. Amen. God bless you. Listen, man of God, talk to me a little bit about your upbringing. What was that like? What was all you could say? What's a typical day in the Williams household?
I would say interesting.
Okay.
My mom was a teenager when I was born. I have a sister that's a year and a half older than I am.
Okay.
So come from a broken family, mom being a teenager. So I came up in my grandparents' home.
Okay.
My grandmother in particular was very strict. We couldn't go anywhere. I believe when I was like 4 years old, they erected a fence around the yard, and I couldn't go outside of the fence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the guys in the neighborhood used to rag on me, call me old-fashioned homeboy.
Old-fashioned homeboy.
A very strict upbringing because I was there with my grandparents. So I believe I caught the tail end of that hard raising, wherein the neighborhood helps raise a child and make sure that you stay in line. Yeah, so that was my upbringing. They were believers, not really consistent church goers.
Okay.
My granddad was AME, my grandmother was Baptist.
Oh, wow.
So they did not.
So you had an AME Baptist Association going on.
Yes,
in the house.
yes. They did not attend church together. I didn't care too much for the AME. I preferred the Baptist environment, but my grandmother was the type that she went to church when she wanted to.
Okay.
And she didn't want to all that often. So there wasn't much church involved, but some Christian principles were instilled.
In the house.
Yes, they were instilled in the house on a very basic level, but they were instilled nonetheless.
So when were you introduced to Jesus as your Lord and personal Savior?
Well, I remember my grandmother telling me about God and the bad man. Satan was called the bad man. Yeah, and we were to stay away from the bad man. And we were not to lie and steal and those type things. But my paternal grandmother, I remember my mom challenging me and my sister that we cannot just sit there at the house on Sundays anymore.
Okay.
So she said, Michael, call your grandmother and tell your grandmother you want to go to church. I said, no, I don't.
No, I don't.
I didn't say that to her, but that's
mind,
what I
no,
said
don't.
to myself. And she was very dedicated. She attended New Redeemed Missionary Baptist Church, and around 11 years old, I made that call.
Oh, wow.
To tell her that I wanted to start attending church. And I had always been enamored with the preaching event, the fact that God can speak to a man.
Right.
And that just wowed me.
Wow.
You know, so anytime I would attend, I would always be fixated on the preacher.
On the preacher, wow.
Yeah, so while I attended that church, I bumped into my cousins. I realized I had cousins the same age as I was, and so we played in church. But when sermon time came,
you paid attention.
Yeah, I was engaged. And Easter Sunday, I was 12 years old at that time. Easter Sunday, he told the gospel story. He preached that message, and again, God died for me. So at 12 years old, that's when I gave my life to Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
After hearing that
12
message.
years old. Wow. And what happened afterward?
What happened? Oh, a lot happened afterwards.
I know there's a lot. Yeah, you know, like when you first get saved at 12 years old, you're so excited. Did you actively go back to church now and you're engaging in youth and all that kind of stuff, or you just?
Oh yeah. There was still the playing around
Right.
with my cousins and the other kids that I met. I vividly remember there were 3 girls in the church: Carlene, Charlene,
Oh, wow.
and Nicole. You know, we were trying to get with Carlene, Charlene, and Nicole, and something happened within me. I became more dedicated than my cousins and the others. My grandmother, she was in the Baptist church, they call it the matron,
Okay.
over the youth.
Right.
And she put me on program to lead devotion.
Oh, wow.
I still remember it, hymn 406.
And
What a friend we have in Jesus. I had to line that hymn, and the adults were just amazed.
Wow.
So I felt it sounded as if I had done it all the time.
Wow.
And from there, she put me on program as well to speak, to be the youth speaker. I still remember that message: get right or get left.
Get right or get left. Wow.
I delivered that message, and then from there, I moved from the back, from playing in church to I sat on the front row.
Wow, what an amazing.
Yeah, from there, and my pastor set me aside to be a deacon when I was 14 years old.
14 years old as a deacon.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why they're clapping in the audience, because that wasn't good to me. You know, because I wanted to be popular. You know,
Yeah,
I wanted to
play.
be I wanted to be thought as hard
Yeah.
in school. I didn't want to be known as a
Preacher,
potential deacon, as they call it then. So
Potential deacon.
Yes.
At 14 years old. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. But it sounds like as you talk about your life, that the call was already pulling you, wooing you, even when you were a little boy. You said you were
Yes.
always fixated when it was time for the word.
Yes.
When were you called to the pastoral?
the pastoral. Well, before I answer that, let me say, I recall my mom giving me and my sister a book entitled My Book of Bible Stories.
Okay.
And I was reading that book and just at awe of the fact that God could speak to men.
Right.
That he spoke to Adam, he spoke to Abraham, he spoke
Right.
to Moses and Joshua. And I put the book down, closed and put the book down, and I asked God, speak to me like you spoke to Adam, Moses,
Awesome.
Abraham. And I felt something burning on the inside of me after that. And I knew that God was going to do something with my life. I didn't know what, but I always looked forward to the day
Wow.
that he would. And all throughout my life, he would send people strategically to tell me, you know you're called. You
Oh,
know God has
yes,
called you.
yes.
And I was like, no, he hasn't. Because I was looking for the heavens to open and to hear his voice sound like the sound of mighty waters
Come on.
and to hear the heavenly choir singing in the background. And since that hadn't happened, I would say
It's like,
God
well,
hadn't,
this stuff is,
yeah, he hadn't called me.
yeah.
And that persisted through my teen years as well. People telling me, you know, that there's something about you. God is going to use your life. You can't get away from it. And when I turned 23 years old,
Okay.
I had some supernatural experiences, out-of-body experiences,
Oh,
if
wow.
you will, that happened, that forced me to go to my pastor at the time and tell him what was going on. And he told me, man, you're being called. You're being called into ministry. And I was saying, it's not supposed to happen like that.
Right.
And so at the age of 23, he told me to go and pray and ask God for a sign. And I felt that God did indeed give me a sign. And then I accepted my call to ministry.
You
that day.
accepted in the ministry. What? So now, did you come in now as a deacon, or where are you now at 23?
I was a deacon.
You was a deacon. You was already
Yes.
because you were a deacon at 14.
Well, I was set aside. They didn't ordain me
Okay, gotcha.
until I was 19 years old.
19. Okay.
I
okay.
believe, yeah. And
So
when
they
we-
were preparing you for the deacon
Yeah, they were preparing me.
for 14, and then so
Yeah.
at 23 you stepped into.
Ministry.
Into
Yeah,
ministry.
to the gospel ministry.
Okay, so you're now in the fivefold, or you just?
Well, at that time, I was in a missionary Baptist church.
So they didn't know.
And we didn't embrace the fivefold ministry.
The fivefold was
you had the
inactive.
pastor, and that was it.
That was the pastor.
It was
the
it was one fold.
It was either the pastor. It was the other fold. So you went in ministry. So now what tell me about your life. What are you doing now? You're in ministry. So you're ministering the gospel. You can preach in church to church, or what are you doing?
At the age of 23.
At the age of 23, right?
Yeah, at the age of 23, I was pretty popular in the city. I remember a deacon from the association we were a part of. He came over. He was actually looking for my uncle to speak. I was a deacon at that time. He wanted my uncle to speak at men's night. And my uncle said, "Nah, I don't do that." He's the speaker. And he looked at me and saw how young I was. He was like, "No, I think I'll stop by another church and find someone else." And my uncle said, "No, trust me, he's the speaker."
Right.
You know, so I spoke, and the people were amazed, and invites coming all over the place. You know, just come and speak or do something. And so at that time, yeah, I was speaking. You know, mainly when people would invite me, I would be doing youth revivals and youth services. Yes.
Right.
At that time.
At the time. So you're still in this is the Baptist church you're in at 23?
Yes.
And you're serving there now, and you eventually heard the call for the pastoral. Walk me through that moment.
Wow.
And did you buck? Tell the whole story. No.
Yeah, I have no problem telling the whole story. When I accepted my call to ministry, I gave myself a 5-year window. And I said, in 5 years, I'm going to be pastoring somebody's church.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it got off to a slow and rocky start.
Okay.
My pastor that I accepted my call to ministry up under, he was also my first cousin.
Okay.
And in the Baptist church, some preach trial sermons, some preach initial sermons. Okay. I preached my initial sermon, and usually the process is that you're licensed after that.
Okay.
He didn't license me, but there was some tension going on between me and him. And, you know, this happens in churches where people get in your ear and tell you, you know, he's trying to hold you back, and
gotcha.
You're better than he is. And
wow.
And I didn't want any of that. So I felt the best thing for me would be to move on, to move
right.
away from that environment. So I shifted over to another church.
Okay.
And that was like taking a step back. Because now I had to work my way up the ranks, if you will.
In another church.
That church ended up splitting. I was connected to the pastor, and it was a pastor against the deacons. So I was on the pastor's side, but I didn't know where the pastor went. So there I was, just lost at the time as it relates to having a church to be affiliated with. And I really didn't want to be Baptist, if you will, anymore.
Right.
I felt like God was leading me out of the box, not to be traditional.
Gotcha.
So I started attending churches in the city, connected to St. Paul Church of Jacksonville at that time. The pastor there was John Guns, Dr. John Guns. And I would attend other churches, but that was the church that I really felt a pull. Yeah, and I sensed God leading me there. And so when I joined St. Paul, really at that time, I didn't want to have anything to do with ministry.
Oh, wow.
I had a child out of wedlock at that time, and I felt like I failed God, and he couldn't use me.
Wow.
You know, so I sat in the back of the balcony. I came late on purpose. I left early on purpose. And I remember the Pastor Guns, telling me, I need to figure out a way to get you up front. I said, don't even waste your time. It's done. I'm over. I'm done with ministry. But that wasn't God's plan, of course.
Actually, before you move on, let's deal with that, because sometimes in ministry we do fall down, and we do make mistakes, and a lot of people struggle to get back up because they feel unworthy. They feel that surely God can't want to use me anymore.
Right.
Look how I messed up. How did you how did you cross over that place? Because you made a decision. You said it, that you were done with ministry. You messed up, and so you know, I'm not qualified anymore to do ministry.
Yes.
How did you get up?
I remember my grandmother, my mom's mom, telling me why don't you sit down somewhere?
Oh, okay.
You're not a preacher. God didn't call you to preach.
Oh, wow.
Because preachers don't do things like that.
Right.
They don't make mistakes
Right.
like that. I feel that the church oftentimes they embrace you when you are doing everything right in their eyes.
True. It's true.
And you mess up and you have a scar.
Yeah.
And we don't have much programming or some even a desire for restoration.
That's right.
So I shrunk back into the background because I felt, and I can sense what people were saying and what they were thinking. My pastor at that time, he told me, don't worry about any of these folk around you. I'm going to protect you because I have dirt on them and they have dirt on me.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He said, so don't worry about it. Say, we all have dirt.
Wow.
And, but even that wasn't good enough for me because I felt as if I failed God.
Right.
So it was really God continuing to pursue me that made me feel as if, okay, it's not over. It's not over. And anytime I would speak, God would show up.
Oh, wow.
So I knew it, but I was more concerned about the people, the court of public opinion.
Right.
So it was after I saw that God would still show up and God would still use me and honor my ministry and the people would receive it well. Wow. That's when I said, okay, I need to get over it. I need to get over it and do what I know I've been called to do.
Yes. Yeah, that's as you were talking about it, it's true. I remember growing up and the gospel then was more rigid. It was like there was no compassion. It's like you had to be little Miss Perfect all the time, and there was no room. The church didn't allow room for mistakes. And if you made a mistake, there was no place of really restoring you. It's more condemning you and making you feel like you're the worst thing since really it was not a good thing. And I remember growing up in that era, experiencing folks who mess up and there was no restoration. Instead of the church restoring, what the church did was really help put them down.
Yes.
And I believe that the church was never meant to be that way. I believe that we ought to be the ones to to speak life and so you can get back up again.
Right.
The Bible said a righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up.
Well,
back then, when you fall,
I've taken care of my allotment. If it's 7, I've taken care of my 7.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember experiencing that a lot. Tell me, why does the Sanctuary Church of Tampa exist?
Sanctuary Church of Tampa exists because I believe that there is a cry in the earth for a real experience with Jesus Christ. As a matter of fact, our church motto is that we provide a pathway to a real experience with Jesus Christ. So we exist namely for persons that are sick and tired of oppressive religious bureaucracy, who are sick and tired of the rigidness, that are sick and tired of how the church has degenerated to performance.
That's good.
And just come in and have a real, authentic experience with Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. So none of the rhetoric and this performance and noise, but real church, real passion.
Yeah, and that's the goal, that's the aim, and it's still a battle in order to get there, because as persons come to be a part of a church, we're 9 months old right now. As persons come and they become a part of your church, they bring with them, their previous affiliations, right, their background, their upbringing in church, their theological or doctrinal underpinnings. They feel that you should operate this way. Yeah. So that's the goal. We're still striving to get there. But that's why we exist.
I'm going to write a book, Pastor. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help a lot of pastors. the Lord taught me about transition.
Mm-hmm.
And how important it is that when you transition from one house into another, what you need to do. I'm not going to share the secrets, but he helped me transition. I remember I was in a house for, you know, when you're a pillar, you help build a house. And you watch the house grow. Mm-hmm. And the Lord says, you know, your transition is here. I need you to transition into another man's vineyard. I need you to work over here. You've exhausted this place. Yes. I need you to move into another place. And he gave me 3 secrets how it is I would transition into this house. And when I tell you, when I prayed and I followed those what the Lord gave, I mean, it was amazing. And a lot of people when they come into your houses, they come with everything that house did. Mm-hmm. But true transition is you literally have to break covenant with your old house so you can walk into the new house. Yes. I'm going to just go ahead and maybe somebody needs to hear this. One of the things God began to tell me, he said, when you transition, do these 3 things and you'll be okay. Number 1, he says, never compare the old pastor to the new pastor. Right. Don't do that. Right. Number 2, he said, the way the old church operates, it's not the same way the new church is going to operate. So you can't expect that if they did it that way, it doesn't mean that Sanctuary Church of Tampa is going to do it that way. So he said, you just leave what you learn as far as the way they did things there over there. Don't bring it over there. And lastly, he said that when you get into the new house, you have to make sure that you break covenant and enter into a new covenant. That's you can't be married to 2 places at the same time. That's right. Because what's going to happen is the Bible even said that you have 2 masters. You're going to love one and hate the other. And so you're going to keep vacillating between churches. So the folks who coming into the Sanctuary Church of Tampa need to know that, listen, when I enter into this house, if you are truly my spiritual father, and God has strategically placed me into your house, then I need to break covenant with the old house and enter into covenant with the new house. So that's right. I have to write the book, and I'll tell you, when I never look back. Oh my God, what an amazing journey. Yes. The house, and listen, and there's so many more secrets. I never talked about the old house. I love the man of God. The house got me where I am. He took me to that place. But God says, in this season, I need you to go someplace else. And so I have to transition you into a new place. Wow.
Yes, that's key. That's key. When I started my church in Jacksonville, Life Changers Christian Fellowship, it was a church at that time that was filled with persons that had been wounded in a previous church experience. Right. So I had to teach a class entitled Church Hurt and Disappointment. And the first thing that I would say when I would start the class is, I'm not your former pastor.
That's good.
So you're correct.
Yes. A lot of people, and when you don't do it like they know, they think you're not doing it right. Because now they're still measuring you up to something, you know, and that you're not even, you're supposed to be measured against, right? And so, yeah, they're coming. The folks assigned to your loins will know your voice. Yes. They will know your voice, and they will come into true covenant agreement. Amen. Stay close. Yes. We'll be right back with more with Pastor Williams. Hi, I'm Pastor Shea, the host of Let's Talk. Wow, we've been broadcasting now for over a year, dealing with topics such as rap music in the 21st century church and the games women play. What an amazing season we've had so far. Join me for season 3 as we deal with new hot topics that you would enjoy talking about.
Tell me what is on your mind. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Whether old or present time. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hi, I'm Pastor Shea, the host of Let's Talk. Wow, we've been broadcasting now for over a year, dealing with topics such as rap music in the 21st century church and the games women play. What an amazing season we've had so far. Join me for season 3 as we deal with new hot topics that you would enjoy talking about.
Let's talk about it. Tell me what is on your mind. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Whether old or present time. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Tell me what is on your mind. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Whether old or present time. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Tell me what is on your mind.
Welcome back to the show. Today we've been talking with the senior pastor of the Sanctuary Church of Tampa, Pastor Michael Williams. Pastor, listen, just before the break we started to talk about transitioning into your house and your ministry. You said your ministry is about 9 months old? Is that
Yes.
about 9 months old.
Yes.
What are some of the, do you have currently any type of community or social service programs available that your church offers to the general community right now?
Well, from an outreach standpoint,
Right.
we feed the homeless on a weekly basis.
Okay.
After service, we take about 100 meals
That's good.
to the homeless population in Tampa. Right now, we partner with other agencies. We partner with the Academy of Hope and assist with mentoring young people.
That's good.
They have a program where they help to transition people from prison to the workforce as well. So right now we are in partnering mode.
That's good.
Until we're able to gain some momentum and strength ourselves to start doing programming within the community.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. That's good. That's good. So well. In Pastoral, what are some of your challenges right now, you think, as a pastor?
One, as a pastor, is embracing the totality of the pastorate.
Okay.
And I say that because over the course of the past few years, I have been transitioning more into an apostolic role. So therefore, some of the components or aspects of pastoring is becoming frustrating because that's no longer my primary assignment.
Gotcha.
So trying to balance it, wherein as you lead a local church, you are their pastor.
Yes.
And me coming out of the missionary Baptist background, you know, wherein he had no clue of what the apostolic was outside of Apostle Peter, Paul, and the rest of them.
And his friends.
Yes. So, in making that transition, if there's a challenge, is setting up an apostolic structure
That's good.
while you're leading people that are perhaps more used to a traditional pastor,
Yeah.
local church pastor.
Yeah, local church pastors stay home.
Yes,
Apostolic leaders have to move, have to go,
yes,
have to strengthen, have to build, has to plan. Whatever the grace God gives you for that apostolic, you're not a house pastor.
yes,
Is the bottom line.
Yes.
And you know, it's funny. I'm in an apostolic house, so I know what you're talking about. And when you love your pastor, it's hard to see. It's hard to let that pastor go and do the work of the apostolic.
yes. And it's different
Yeah.
for me because having pastored an established church, having started a church before,
Right.
and I did all of the legwork.
Right.
to get it established, laid the foundation, built the infrastructure. I did all of that. But this time around, I didn't. I entrusted much of that to others.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good in theory.
Okay.
Sometimes not so good in practice.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's been different this time around. So it's challenging. You know, from that aspect.
It's challenging because there's a balance to let it go, or
yeah, I mean there's a challenge. Anytime you delegate, if you want to be effective in delegation, you have to make sure that you are entrusting that to people.
Yes.
Yeah, you hold them accountable. And it's difficult at times. You want to step in and sometimes snatch it back, but you don't want to disturb their growth process and their growth curve.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yes.
Delegation, and you know, leaders delegate, but they delegate with their hands still on it. They're not fully letting it go. But yeah,
Yes.
as you transition, then you have to make sure there's some people around you that can carry the weight of the ministry.
Yes.
So that you can walk into the role of the apostolic and do the apostolic work. If somebody were to say to you, what differentiates your church from the church next door, what would you say?
I would say because I'm there.
Besides the fact that you're there,
I believe the thing that differentiates us is there's no air of religiosity.
That's good. That's good.
And that's intentional.
Yes.
Because again, I don't want persons, and I believe God doesn't want persons to experience that weight. There's sometimes you can walk into churches and you sense that there are so many rules and you don't know where to sit, you don't know how to conduct yourself,
Yeah.
you don't know if you can speak to someone, you know, because it is so rigid and so strict. But we're not producing a tolerant environment either.
Right.
But just want to remove that air of religiosity,
Right.
you know, so people won't come in and feel like they're in the wrong place because they're not dressed a particular way.
That's good.
I believe that there ought to be freedom in worship and
Yeah.
your expression of your adoration and an appreciation from God, for God, you know, so I believe that we're different because there's freedom. There's no air of religiosity.
That's good.
and
Break down the walls of religion.
Yes.
Break down the wall. So you don't have like the first Sunday for the mothers to sit on the front row and the second Sunday for them
No,
to wear
we-
pink.
We
and the third Sunday-
we observe communion on the first Sunday, but that's pretty much it.
Right.
If you want to speak of tradition, so we're not all dressed in black and white, and we're not walking around with gloves like we're the Temptations or somebody.
Five heartbeats, man. There you go.
Five heartbeats. So we don't have all of that going on.
Right.
But no, we haven't institutionalized things like, you know, certain Sundays, there are certain events going on, so no, we don't do that.
No, that's good. That's good. You're a single pastor, is that
Yes.
correct? How do you maintain as a single pastor?
Prayer and discipline. I mean, prayer is a discipline.
Right.
Paul says, I discipline my body,
Yes.
so that after I have preached to others, I myself might not be disqualified.
Disqualified.
So it takes discipline, because the Bible also says there's no temptation out there
None.
that's not common to man. A pastor experiences some of the same temptations as others, but probably in a more concentrated form, because you have persons sitting right there in your church. You have persons in the religious community. You have persons on Facebook. You know, I probably get hit up on Facebook like a few times a week.
On Facebook?
Yeah, you know, via Facebook. So yeah, it's a challenge being single. It was probably more of a challenge when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a desire to maintain,
Right.
or a desire to walk and operate at a particular level,
Right.
it becomes easier.
It
You know,
becomes
because your focus And when you're focused, I believe that certain things don't even come to you
That's right.
anymore. So
Yeah.
a lot of the traps, a lot of the pitfalls, a lot of the temptations, they're not as intense as they were early on. I guess after you win certain victories, I mean, you have certain victories, you win certain battles, then it becomes
It
easy.
doesn't even move you anymore.
Right.
How do you address some of these confrontations? These, I'm females, Well, let me ask you this, because I hear this a lot. Have they told you that the Lord told them?
Oh God, yeah. I wish I bought my phone in here.
They were praying, and the Lord said, "You got to call him."
Yeah,
Box him
and I would say, Lord, I can't be but one woman's husband. So yeah. I mean, so I know the Lord could not have spoken to
that many.
Yes, to that many, and I wish He would speak to me before He started speaking to them.
So at least you got some confirmation when they come, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that just as do you think a lot of women, and saved women too, because I believe saved women, maybe they just desire, the pastor husband, versus saying that the Lord is saying that, you're the one,
Don't even set yourself up for, I don't know what camera I need to look into. Don't set yourself up for it. It's a total different experience. So yeah, I believe that some desire it because, well, let's be honest, for the most part, most of them see us on Sundays and whatever the other day during the week, and we're jovial and we're accommodating and all of that, but that doesn't speak to how we are for the rest of that time. So are you ready to deal with who that person really is?
Period.
And the demands that come with ministry, the scrutiny that comes with ministry. I could go on and on and on.
Exposure, yes.
And so it became challenging when I became a pastor, because being a pastor really made me suspicious of every advance.
Right.
I was suspicious anyway, but what do you see? What do you see, or what it is that you feel that you want to be a part of?
Right.
I may not have asked them that directly, but it's something that I sought to ascertain.
I want to know what it is that you're trying to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that they would even inbox you on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And these are women that you know or don't know, in some cases.
Some that I know, but for the most part, some that I don't know. I mean, it happens. I don't know if it happens to others or how often it happens to others, but yeah, I usually get bombarded via Facebook.
What would you say to the single pastors out there and say, yeah, Pastor William, that's all really good, but you cannot tell me that there's sometimes you don't want to just step out and hear what the sister have to say? What would you say to them? I would say to them,
that's true. But I recognize with this office, you have to respect the office. You have to reverence God. There's some situations you can't put yourself into.
At all.
Really the situation that I came out of and I have experienced in ministry as of late, I'm on high alert, because I believe that some people will try to set you up as well.
True. Yes.
So
high alert.
I don't go after that. Those advances and all that. I don't.
Stay away.
Yeah.
Beware. Beware. Want it. Beware. Wow. When you think about, you said that your church is non-religious, is an environment where people are free to express worship, and they can come in and really find God there, and they don't have to run into religion. They don't have to run into the stringentness of rule. What would you say then is the passion of your ministry? Like the thing, I know you said it's religious. Like some churches are, for instance, some churches may be strong in deliverance. So most of their service are heightened in healing and deliverance. What would you say is the passion of your house?
I would say to see lives changed.
Right.
Because me being the founder and the visionary, that's my desire.
Right.
To see lives change. And so along with that, we're open and free to flow in all of those veins and avenues. So You may come one time, hey, it may be deliverance, it may be a
Gotcha.
deliverance service, it may be prophetic,
Right.
it may be just straight teaching, it may be, but the desire is to see lives change.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
disciples produced for Jesus Christ.
Do you have an associate pastor in your house?
I'm grooming them. As I stated earlier, we're 9 months old. I said from the jump I wasn't going to put anybody in that position until after a year.
Awesome.
I believe that if you do it within your first year, you create chaos
Right.
within your church.
So you basically, so you consider this is the year or the time where you're setting up a good foundation, good
Yes.
framework, good structure to stand on.
Yes.
And so once you're instituted that, then now you can put somebody to say, now carry this out.
Yes, the first year that they need to hear the pastor's voice.
Yes, yes.
They need to get acclimated to my leadership style. And then there you start adding others. I mean, even without giving persons certain titles, people, they influence others, or others may, tap into other, it happens, but it will not be formally or officially done in the sanctuary church, at least, until after we've fulfilled a year.
Fulfill at least a year.
Yes.
What is your leadership style? What would you say your leadership style is?
It has shifted over the course of time because I came out of a corporate environment where I was in management, and when I first stepped into ministry, I was corporate.
Yeah, talk about that.
I was corporate. How the church operated at that time, it disgusted me. And I felt like the environment was too lax, and too much fell through the cracks, and people got away with things without being held accountable.
Right.
Coming out of a corporate environment wherein I could touch that paycheck, or I can send you to the unemployment office.
Make
In
a
church,
decision,
what are you going to do?
Yeah, yeah.
You better do that, or they'll be like, or what?
I'll just maybe go to the next church.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Right.
So I was very strict and rigid early on. As a matter of fact, people told me I was mean. Now I'm a little
And that
more,
was the meanness was because of the corporate mindset, right?
Yeah.
That, so you manage people. I take it you say you were in management in
Yes.
the corporate world. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was mainly guys. So I was used to dealing with men, speaking to men a particular way, and some people told me I need to take the edge off of what I say, and and all of that. So over the course of time, I became more accommodating and understanding. I believe in delegating, and I do not micromanage.
That's good.
And I don't believe in manipulation either. So therefore I don't go in and throw temper tantrums and all, because I don't want persons to do because they don't want to hear Pastor Williams' mouth.
That's
or
good.
they don't want him to get upset. I want you to serve because you love God.
We love God first. Wow,
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember I'm in corporate too, and you're right. So when you pastor people, you're right. So when I have a team of engineers that I'm responsible for, and so me telling them what to do is my job.
Mm-hmm.
But in the church, influences, they lead by example. If I have to make you do it, then I'm not leading you.
Yes.
It has to
Yes.
be a level of influence.
Yes.
In management, no, I'm going to manage you because that's what I'm paid to do.
Yes.
But in ministry, yeah, it's by influence.
Yeah, and there are strategic times when you have to use rebuke
Yes.
or correction.
Yes.
Some of my members are here that they may feel that I check them on Sunday.
She's laughing in the corner. I don't know. She must have gotten checked a couple of times.
No, I check the entire church,
Yeah.
not any persons
Yeah, gotcha.
in particular. So
Right.
there are times that you have to set order,
Right.
to set and establish order. So I believe that much of the order should be set up front, but there are strategic times that
When
you
you
have to
have to
come
be.
in.
Mhm.
Yes.
What would you say the leaders who may be struggling not necessarily struggling, but they're or maybe in the same position as you, they're building a new church, and they feel that it's not moving. I've been at this for the last 9 months, but I just don't feel this is moving. What would you say to those leaders?
I would say if your goal is increase and numerical growth, you trust God for that. I don't believe it's our responsibility to number the people.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yes. I believe, and I preached this in a message some years ago, when I sensed that was the issue with that particular pastor.
Right.
And I preached the message from the text when Gideon had to downsize his army to 300.
That's right.
We have to weigh the balance between being successful and effective.
That's good.
Success is oftentimes measured in men's eyes, you know, and some pastors may not feel that they are successful if they don't have a mega church.
Right.
And we must really ask ourselves the question: does God want us to be successful, or does He want us to be effective?
Right.
If you are effective, you can be effective with 50 people.
Of course, yes.
You can be effective with 25 people, but may not be seen as being successful.
That's right.
You know, so I would tell that pastor, seek to be effective.
Effective.
And fulfill what God has. And if you're using all of your gifts, talent, skills, and abilities to be effective for God, you've done well.
That's good. That's good. So I was thinking a friend of mine in ministry, she said a lot of time you be right, we measure the success of church by the size of the church. But oftentimes the size doesn't mean it's effective. It can be infected.
Yes.
And because you attract your kind. And so if the church is infected, in other words, she's saying it may be full, but it doesn't mean it's full of saved folk. It can be full of messed up folks because you attract them. Right?
Yes.
So.
I pastored on every level. I've walked in and I've seen 8 people sitting out there, and I've stood there in my office looking through the blinds, praying, trying to pray people into the parking lot. But I've also, you know, pastored a mega church, you know, so you're right. You can have numbers, but not be effective in ministry. Right. You can have the numbers, but if you have thousands and everyone is not vested and hadn't bought in.
That's true.
What's greater, having thousands but only 20 people really doing the work, or is it having a church of 50 people and they're all engaged,
fully engaged,
and advancing the kingdom of God?
Yes.
You know, I would rather have that 50 that's fully engaged than to have the thousands and you know, there's a small group of people pushing the workload.
There was an article that I posted on the Let's Talk page, Pastor, and it's a mega church. It's a pastor of a mega church, and in the article, the men of God, it's a mega church, but they were struggling to pay their bills. They would struggle to maintain the church, and so the pastor sent out letters to the partners that were not paying their tithes, and he really said, you know what, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the way he said is essentially, you know, you don't have to come back because we're trying to maintain, but you're not helping, and you're just trying to ride this bus for free, and we can't have you doing that. What would you say to something like that?
What would I say to the pastor?
Yeah. Keep doing it now.
You know, one of the very interesting things about some leaders, we challenge our members to give by faith.
Right.
But we don't want to live by faith.
There you go.
Yeah, we challenge them, give all of your money, and by faith, God will take care of you.
And bring it back.
But in our leadership approach, we don't trust that God will take care of the church.
Wow.
You know, so I believe that oftentimes we're being contradictory.
Yes.
When we do that, trust God. If you believe that God has chosen you and He has assigned you to that work, you trust God that God is going to maintain it, that God is going to make sure the church is sufficient.
Yes, it's good.
And if not, you may need to raise some questions. Not to the people, but to God. Because oftentimes a pastoral response, if you're operating off of notion, is to fuss at the people.
Right.
You're not making it happen. You're not getting it done.
Right.
But you may need to ask, God, is your hand still on this?
That's right.
I mean, are you still with us? Because when I read Scripture, namely the Old Testament, before they went out into battle, they wanted to make sure
that's
if
right.
God is going to be with us.
Exactly.
So
right.
you can't continue to pastor without God being, with God being absent.
That's right.
And not being a part of your work. So, hey, I only want to be what the will of the Lord would have me to be.
That's it.
And if God says it's over, you know, that my season, my time is over. It's not my work, it's His. Ministry is not our idea, it's God's idea.
It's God's idea.
Yeah.
And whatever He births, He maintains.
Yes.
And when He stops maintaining it,
that's right.
It's time to, we're just stewards of what God gave us. Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. I was curious to see what pastors would say about that. You're right. We walk by faith. We live in faith. And my senior pastor always said, she said, the minute God stopped paying the bills for this house, then it's time to lock the doors.
Yeah, you can't fuss at the people. You're their leader.
That's right.
You know, you're their leader, so they're going to follow your lead.
That's right.
You know, so oftentimes we get upset with the people. I remember when I first started pastoring, I would walk around in that sanctuary and I would pray just all day long. I would pray, and I remember one guy in particular, he left. He got married, and he and his new bride, they told me they were going to come over and they were going to help me, and well, he was already there. She said she would come over and they were going to help me. They got married, and he went over to her church, and he was one of the top givers. Wow. And I was there at the altar crying out unto the Lord, you know, how are we going to make it? And God told me to get up. and I also recall standing there on the stage, platform where the pulpit was, and I could see the people, and I was counting, you know, the people, and God stopped me, and He says, if you put your eyes on the people, you're taking them off of me. Jesus. And so I stopped counting, and I was like, God, I'm going to trust you. That's it. And from then on, and I remember, and this was confirmation, that Saturday I had to preach at a church. It was in Jacksonville Beach, and I went out there and I preached. Well, before I went out to preach, I was sitting there with a pastor from California. And as we were talking, he interrupted me. He said, man of God, I have to stop you. I'm sensing this so strongly. And he says, it's not going to fall apart under you. It's going to flourish under you. I must come against that spirit of fear that's within you. I mean, so I was like, God, you have to check me like that. But but I knew that I could put those fears to the side. That's awesome. And trust God. Stop looking at the people and trust God, because if it's on me, if I put the weight on myself, I might as well stay up all night. I might as well get angry at other people. But if the weight is on God, if the onus probandi, if the burden of proof is on God, He will make sure that the church is sustained and thrives.
Awesome. Good feedback. As we're about to bring this conversation to a close, I want you to just shift now into your pastoral, prophetic, apostolic role. Wherever the Lord will let you flow right now. And I want you to look into that camera, because there's a lot of, there may be pastors that may be struggling. There may be pastors that just need a word of encouragement. There may be pastors that, whatever the situation is, that may be going through right now, and they need to know that, you know what, God hasn't changed, and God is still on their side, and He's still able to do everything He told them He would do. But they just need to hear that encouragement from another pastor, a single pastor at that, to let them know, look, He's doing it for me. He's brought me from way back then, and He's still doing it now. I'm the glory in the earth. Go ahead and talk to them for me.
Yes, I would say to you, Pastor, from a passage that I just preached recently for Exodus chapter 14, where the children of Israel they're stuck at the Red Sea. The Red Sea was the barrier and the obstacle before them. Pharaoh and his army was behind them. There were mountains on both sides, and the people were crying out, asking Moses, were there not enough graves in Egypt? You could have left us in Egypt to die if we were going to die. And God gave the command to Moses to tell the people to go forward. That's the command that I have been hearing from God in this season. Go forward. You may feel that you're stuck. You may feel that you're stagnant, but God never gives the command to retreat. So I want to encourage you, to tell you to go forward. Visions sometimes tarry, according to Scripture, but wait on it. It will come to pass. You may go through obstacles, but I say this: God never he never eases up off of the accelerator to destiny because we pump the brakes of fear and doubt. So you may be going through a season where you feel like you must pump the brakes. No, take your foot off the brake, keep it on the accelerator, because God will always give the command to go forward. Your past failures, past the bondage may be pursuing you. There may be an obstacle or obstruction in front of you where it looks like the future is impossible. But those things that are impossible to men are possible to God. So if it's financial, if it's numerical, as it relates to the people you may be dealing with chaos and drama in your church, go forward. That's the command from the Lord. Continue to press on, because if there's an obstruction, there's a barrier in front of you, trust that God is able to perform a miracle. If he doesn't completely remove the barrier, he will provide a pathway for you to get to the other side. So I believe that if I have a vision of what's on the other side, if God has told me that there's something there on the other side, he's going to take me through whatever the barriers, whatever the obstacles, whatever the hurdles are. So again, go forward.
My God, come on. Awesome. Wow. What an amazing word. Hallelujah. For this season, but to go forward. Pastor Williams, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Amen. My Bahamian brother from another mother. Come on, celebrate this man of God from the Sanctuary Church of Tampa. Yes. Awesome man of God. Awesome man of God. Awesome man of God. Thank you so much again.
Well, again,
for
I say
sharing
thank
your
you
story and your journey into the pastoral. And I wish you all the best. Amen, at your church, and the best is ahead of you. You know this.
I believe that.
The best is ahead of you, and just build structure. One thing about any house is if the foundation is sure, the house will stand. No matter what comes, no matter what wind blows, the house will stand.
I believe you can lay a foundation for a skyscraper.
Yes.
You can lay a foundation for a chicken coop.
That's good. That's good.
I'm laying a foundation for a skyscraper.
There you go. All the way up. All the way up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for stopping by. Listen, guys, until next time, always put God first, and all else will follow. Bye now. God bless you. Good interview.
God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching today's show. If you'd like to request a copy of today's show, please contact us at 813-971-5372. We would love to hear from you. Please drop us a line at letstalkshow@verizon.net or subscribe to our Facebook page and leave a comment. If you feel this show has been a blessing to you and would like to assist us in keeping the show on the air, you can make a donation via PayPal or mail your checks to the address shown on the screen. Please tune into next week's show, and as always, if you want to talk about it, let's talk.